Welcome to the evaluation session. This is one perspective on refereeing performance. So this is where refereeing technical experts look at every judgment that goes on in a particular game. So Anthony's refereed Swansea Burnley. Every particular decision will be looked at and then coded as either being a correct decision or an incorrect decision, and then rated in terms of its difficulty. That then comes back to the referee and the refereeing team to comment on. You can see that there's an opportunity to comment, and then Tails would receive that and then work through it.
During a game, whatever decision we're making has to have obviously some reason and logic to every single decision. Now, sometimes we're going to call the decision incorrect, and sometimes your reason and logic might be flawed upon review. But it's important for, in terms of learning and doing it better the next time round, how we can do things differently. I was particularly keen to go through this game as soon as possible because I made a mistake in the game in terms of giving a penalty which I shouldn't have given for handball. But part of that process to learn and move on, because I also had a match in the Europa League on the Thursday. I needed to look at these situations, get my head clear, understand why I'd made the mistake and to move on to make sure I didn't make that same mistake again in my next game.
Did you feel straight away something may be wrong here?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I could see it in your face, that's why I asked.
At the time, the reasoning and the logic behind that initial decision was because the last arm I see in the air is from the Swansea defender, because he's turned around like this. Totally flawed logic at that moment in time, and like you say, the reaction of the Swansea players suddenly makes you think something's not right here. Yeah. And the reason I'm looking a little bit lost and meandering around, I'm trying to speak to my other colleagues, which is a bit difficult when you've got so many people around you and you've got players trying to influence what you're doing from both sides. But you're also trying to look for signs that, is there any kind of information there that I can maybe change my decision to?
But have you already given your decision now?
Yeah.
But so what would you be speaking to your assistants about then if you've already given your decision? How could they help you then?
So based on that, because I'm so positive and adamant that it's a handball by the defender in the first instance, there are times when an assistant or a fourth official might have a better view to then go, actually, Tails, in this situation, you're wrong.
Oh, so it's OK, once you've actually given it, you could still then say...
As long as you don't restart the game.
Oh, OK.
You could change it. Now, and this is a prime example, if I was able to get some kind of other information to change my decision before the penalty's taken, believe me, I would have done. We can move down to the comment that I made. So the original evaluation comes back as clearly an incorrect decision. It shouldn't be a penalty. So this is what I wrote. So it's important to have a degree of honesty when we're doing this. You can't defend the indefensible. And for me personally, and from a sense of personal pride, it's a really poor decision when you look back at it, because I'm static in my position. I should be further left. That way it'll open it up, and this is how I've put my case for the defence, so to speak, when I'm responding to that. And this is the main learning point from this.
I want to address an issue that came out of that weekend.
Yes.
Because I think it'd be right for us to ask. I was doing the Manchester United Bournemouth game, and I received a message during the game that that you and the referee of the Manchester United Bournemouth game had been away on a stag do that week. I chose not to use that information because I think that to me would be crossing a line. I wouldn't use personal information about a player. I wouldn't use it about a referee. Do you feel that it in any way, shape or form influenced your decision making at that weekend as an individual?
Not personally, no, because. When the
you've been on your stag do,
yeah, when my stag do when it had been planned, it was we planned it so we came back.
We didn't get it.
I think we came back in plenty of time. Training was still carried out when we were doing that. The preparation for this game was no different to any other game. We travelled down on the Friday. Lunchtime,
when did you get back from the stag do?
The Wednesday.
Right. Okay.
So I think fundamentally you look at a lot of the discussion today has been about referees being human, and I think one of the human traits is to do what humans do.
would in a year's time, if another referee came to you and said, I've got a stag do between a Sunday and a Wednesday, would you change your approach on it, or would you do the same thing again, just in terms of the light of the actual publicity, maybe unfair publicity that it received when obviously it didn't go so well a couple of weekends ago?
No, it's a good question. If you look at the reality of it, I'd say, no, we definitely wouldn't change. People are the human beings, the referees. They have lives. So again, if Anthony came to me when he first proposed about 18 months ago, and all along the plan was to have his stag do during the summer, which is what we've done traditionally in the past. He then got appointed to the Champions League final with Mark, to European Championships with Mark. He lost about 8-9 weeks of his summer, so it just wasn't possible. And he actually came then and said, well, since it's been season, I won't do it. And there's a balance between, well, you're still a person. Why should you be denied that opportunity? If we do it right, if we time it properly, if you do the right things, then it will have no impact on your performance. And that's what you worked hard to do. Timing it straight, going out on a Sunday afternoon, making sure they're all back in the country on a Wednesday, being very careful about what they did. I mean, they all trained while they were away. We've got all the training data. So they were as professional as they could be whilst celebrating.
They ran to the pub.
And back, probably, as well. But then you have the mistake at the weekend. Now, we all know that the mistake was just a mistake. It wasn't because of what happened. The publicity then doesn't help. No. So probably I'll never get asked the question again, because if you're a referee, having seen what Anthony went through, you wouldn't want to put yourself there. But I have every sympathy, and actually I supported his decision to go and do it, because he was professional in the way that he approached it.
Sometimes maybe a referee makes a high-profile mistake or makes a mistake, and maybe he's not refereeing the next weekend. I just put myself in that position if I was a player. Sometimes I'd be thinking, I need to have another game to get that out the way. How does that work? Sort of the psychology of that with the referees?
No, it's exactly like that. It's no different to being a player.
Do you make that decision yourself?
Yeah. So you look at every week, our team sheet is effectively the 10 games in the Premier League. And you're trying to pick the most appropriate referee that is best suited to that particular game. Bearing in mind lots of different factors. Some of it European appointment, some of it injury. But in that particular situation, you're exactly right. Sometimes the best thing to do for a referee is to put them back out on the bike. Let them get out there and regain their form. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the best thing is to say, OK, go and do another game, rediscover your form and then come back. So you've got to work with each individual and make the right decision for them and for the teams as well.